Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. And we are coming to you live from the SAANYS Conference, Lake Placid, New York. And I'm honored, really excited to have the National Director, the Executive Director of the National Association of Elementary School Principals, Dr. Earl Franks, live here in SAANYS Lake Placid. Good to see you.
Great to see you, my friend.
I appreciate you being here. Yeah. So Earl and I are here again, Lake Placid, for the SAANYS Conference, the annual conference spread around New York State, and we're here, Lake Placid. Dr. Franks just had a session next door. I just had a session here. I certainly heard a warm round of applause. How did your session go?
Went great. It was focusing on advocacy, the role of the principal in the advocacy area, and certainly talk about some of the priorities from a SAANYS perspective of what they're working on here statewide, but just the role of the principal and school leader, school district leader in advocacy and how important that is, that they make connections with those people that represent them at the State House, as well as on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Earl, I certainly follow you on social media, that you have a big following. You're at a lot of conferences. You go to a lot of these. What do you look to get out of a conference? Certainly you give, but what do you look to get out as a leader yourself?
Well, I attend conferences to support our folks and the great work that they're doing. You might have heard me say before, as I told Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona many times, I'd hate to know where our country would be today without our school leaders. Certainly during the pandemic, they did outstanding work, their leadership. And so it's for me, it's more important that I get out and support them, attend their sessions, and tell them how much we appreciate the work that they're doing, certainly at the national level from an NAESP perspective. And just hearing and seeing what's going on, like in the advocacy session just a few minutes ago. What are you dealing with? Are you having staff shortages? And the majority of the people raise their hand in the room. So that tells me that that's a common problem across the country. So it's more about, again, supporting what they're doing, supporting our state affiliate, thanking them for their partnership with the NAESP. And it's always enjoyable to be out and being with members and really getting firsthand knowledge of what's going on, because every state's a little different. They're not all the same. When I go to a conference in Montana, it's different as opposed to here in New York. So just enjoy being out with folks.
I hope you get some good food while you're here in New York. I hope we take care of you. Earl, 7 years with NAESP. You've done an excellent job here. What's something that you've learned now, or now, that was maybe new to you when you started, or you weren't as familiar?
Well, I don't know if it's new to me, but just it was reinforced at the boards that I've had the opportunity to work with, directors, board members, the officers throughout my tenure. They're outstanding. They care about pre-K principals throughout the country. They care about education. They care about all students receiving high quality education. So I've been very fortunate there, and I have a great staff. They work hard every day to provide high quality services and supports for our members, in addition to folks who are not members, because many school leaders, they benefit from our work, like in advocacy, whether they're members of an NAESP or not. We're still going to advocate on their behalf on Capitol Hill and in the United States Department of Education. So just a high quality staff, committed staff, passionate, and the same for our board of directors. And there's a slight transition difference in the board. Some of our board members rotate off every year. We have a new president every year, but they've all been very committed to the organization and the members we serve. So that was just something I felt like I knew as a state executive director, but it was really reinforced throughout my time at NAESP.
Yeah. And the organization is thriving. You certainly are visible out and about. Earl, I was a lifetime secondary principal. But I heard, even as a secondary principal, that the most important job in education is elementary principal. That culture, the spirit of the school, so much goes into it, and it impacts those kids at such an early age. What would you say to that statement?
Well, I guess someone could argue whether it's the most important position in education. Certainly, I don't know if I would put a principal above a classroom teacher, but certainly having a solid foundation in education through the pre-K through 3, and then certainly following up to build on that is critically important. And we know that research has shown that the most effective person in a child's education is the classroom teacher, but second, right close behind, is the school leader. And they put teachers, they put programs in place so that students can be successful. So principals may not work as much with students as a teacher. However, they work to get the best teacher in the right place so they can provide those high quality educational opportunities for all kids.
Great answer there. If you're watching the show live, please jump in, say hello. If you know Dr. Franks, please introduce yourself. Let us know where you're watching from. Earl, before serving as executive director at NAESP, a lot of time at CLAS, the Council of Leaders for Alabama Schools, 9 years there. Talk to me about your time there, some of the things that you remember, and certainly the impact that you had in Alabama.
Well, I don't know how much impact I had, other than I was so proud and honored to have served in that role. Outstanding organization in Alabama, but very similar to what I do now at NAESP. But yeah, the Council for Leaders in Alabama Schools, outstanding organization for not just principals, but all school district leaders in the state of Alabama. And a gentleman who followed me, Dr. Vic Wilson's done excellent job just expanding on what was built there from during my time, and then building on the great leaders prior to my going to serving in the leadership role there. But yeah, just high quality professional learning. Advocacy is a big part of what they do, and the connection, having conferences, whether it's principals or other school leaders. But very honored to have served with that organization for 9 years.
Yeah. A difficult decision to leave there to come to NAESP, or how did you look at the opportunity there when you decided to come?
Well, I think I wasn't looking to leave CLAS. It's a great organization, but my predecessor at NAESP, Gail Conley, had announced her retirement, and looking at the type person, the qualifications that they were looking for in the next executive director, I felt like that those were kind of listed. Those were if I have strengths, those could be it, and felt like that it could be a good fit. And so talk to my wife, put my name in, if it's meant to be, we'll see what happens. Otherwise, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. But having this position at NAESP is kind of like when I moved from the classroom to the principal position. It allowed me to try to make a difference on a large group of people, not just the ones in my classroom, as you well know. And then moving from the school building level to the state organization allowed me to try to have more impact at a higher level on state education policy, and helping all school leaders in Alabama improve. And then kind of looked at that moving to the national level, trying to leave a footprint on improving educational leaders throughout the country. So that was kind of how I justified in my mind thinking it would be a good opportunity for me.
It certainly has been, and you've done great work there. Again, the organization is thriving. You mentioned classroom teaching. It was interesting reading about your background. The band director, the band director of the school, so much school culture, so much spirit of the school there. Give me some comparisons. What are some comparisons about being a band director and an executive director?
Well, I think certainly when you're a band director, a music teacher, balancing is very important. You want the melody to be one dynamic level above the accompaniment. So, if you've got the melodies, the person singing, but the accompaniment is so much louder than the melody, you can't hear the melody. It's just not good. So I think balancing, saying this is too loud, this needs to be a little louder, knowing the rhythm, knowing the tempo, how fast should we go, should we slow down here, working for perfection in music. You're trying to eliminate the wrong notes, the incorrect rhythms. So you're looking for perfection, whether it's a marching band or certainly a concert setting. So I think balancing would be that, and then working to perfect. And I think from an association perspective and being a principal, that's what you do as a principal. You balance things. And I've had the opportunity to be on many podcasts and webinars throughout the years with music and arts groups. And they want to know about how to work with a principal. And I still say every great principal wants every program in the school to be the best. Every athletic program, every fine arts, whatever it is, they want to be the best. So, I think there are a lot of similarities you carry over, not from necessarily from being a band director to an executive director, but certainly I could make a strong case for being a band director moving into a principal position.
Literally orchestrating it all. I liked what you said about the sound there and the balance. How about you? I got my props here, Earl. I had my presentation, and this is one of my newer props talking about balance. You get knocked off kilter. You're getting pressure from this thing. You're trying to take care of your family. You're working things in your own life as a leader now. What are some things that you do to find balance?
I think you got to be grounded first in you. You got to have a value system that no matter where you are, what situation you're in, you're grounded with your values, your beliefs. And you got to have a strong support system. And that starts certainly with home, whether you have a spouse, a partner, what that looks like. You got to have a strong support system because we know that partnership is critically important. They have to support you in your work. When you may not be at home, you may be at school, you may be running an association. I may be in Lake Placid today when, my wife is at home along with our dog. So having a strong support system is important, and certainly a staff around you. We can't do everything by ourselves. So it's a team effort, my belief. So the NAESP staff, they work with me. We're a partner in this. So you got to be grounded. You got to have strong values. You got to have support of the home life. You've got to have a strong support staff around you. And you got to take care of yourself, whatever that looks like, whether it's, go on long walks, whether you're a runner, whether you're a swimmer, whether you like to read, whatever you do for fun and for good health. You got to take care of yourself.
Are you a runner? You're always looking in good shape.
I used to run a lot. That was a big part of my life for 20-something years. I don't run as much as I used to. I've turned to walking more. My wife, she walks 8 to 10 miles a day. She's convinced. She's convinced me that I should I can maintain if I walk. So I try to walk at least 4 miles a day. And then on the weekends, I'll still do 3.5, 4 miles. But successfully completed 4 marathons, several halves, numerous 5Ks, 10Ks. My best running days, I'm sure, is behind me. But I still like to go out and do 3.5, 4 miles. My pace is not 8 minutes like it used to. Maybe it's 9.5, but it's okay. That's kind of like, I don't even listen to music when I run. That's just like it gives me a chance to think and just be out in nature. I like that.
So no music.
No music. Plus, I couldn't run to the beat, and as a musician, that would drive me crazy.
I love it. What do you wear on your feet? I'm trying to hit the spot too.
I was a long time back in the old days. I was a Nike Air Pegasus person. They changed the model, so Saucony's now my go-to running shoe.
You're not wearing those big, thick moon boot.
No, well, I think you have to decide: are you are you neutral? Do you need some support? Where are you? Have you done a foot test if you're a runner?
Yeah.
Every shoe, you just go buy a shoe off the rack, it doesn't fit your feet, and so I'm a neutral cushioning person. And so that's the shoe I buy. But you got to know what kind of foot you have so you can know what kind of shoe to best run in. All shoes are not the same.
That's correct. All principles are not the same. All organizations are not the same. But that's great. You look in shape. So it's like he's doing something. And you and your wife, good for you there. Earl, it was a big summer for you and NAESP. You had the National Combined Conference. It was a massive event, Nashville. Back now, a couple months looking at it. What's some feedback you got? What is some from the executive director perspective, that 30,000-foot view? What were some of the things that you heard and you saw yourself?
Yeah, all feedback's been very positive. I think the attendees really enjoyed, first of all, being in Nashville, Tennessee. The Music City Center, that convention center there is unbelievable. It's a wonderful convention center. But the destination, Nashville, I tell people it's not my mom and dad's Nashville. It's changed a lot over the years, but it's really an outstanding location. But just a chance to partner with our colleagues at NAESP and Ron Mazzoli, my friend, brother from another mother there, who leads NAESP. It was a chance to come together, all school leaders coming together. Probably the only negative thing I heard was some folks couldn't get into sessions because they were packed.
Wow.
But yeah, we had tremendous attendance and feel really good about the conference that we had there.
Cool. And you're going together again next summer?
Yes, we'll be together for one more year. It's called the United Conference, and it will be in Seattle, Washington. And we've got our 3 keynotes already locked in there. Feel good about that. John Maxwell's going to be one of our keynotes, Golden Muhammad, and Damon John. Is that his name? From Shark Tank.
Oh, okay.
I think that's his name. I'm embarrassed to say.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll get it.
Yeah, he's on Shark Tank.
Okay.
We just announced that we'll be promoting that in the coming weeks.
Beautiful. Our friend Jay Billy from New Jersey, he's a fellow elementary.
Love Jay. I was in New Jersey last week and was fortunate to sit in on, actually, he did a session with one other young lady, and then he was a part of a panel.
Wow.
Another one. So, yeah, I had my Jay Billy fix in New Jersey and Atlantic City last week.
Beautiful. Yeah, he's a Saucony guy as well. Very
Great
cool.
guy.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome about the NAESP and NAESP. Man, it looked great, and the sessions and all of that. So congratulations on making that work for you as well. You spoke last night. Kevin Casey, the director here in New York, SAANYS, retired. Kevin's led here for a long time, a wonderful gentleman. In thinking about that, Earl, and your leadership, what are some things that you would hope people would say about you at your retirement, right? When that day comes for you, what are some attributes, some things that you would hope that people would recognize about your leadership?
Well, first and foremost is hopefully people say that I'm a person of high character, integrity. I care about people. I really do care about folks. I care about our members. I care about the students that they serve and work with. I care about the communities. So I'm a caring person, deeply rooted in values. I'm a product of public education. I'd hate to know where I'd be today had it not been for the opportunities provided for me. I had a great music teachers growing up, and when I was in the 7th grade, I knew I wanted to be a music teacher because of the music teacher I had.
Really?
Unfortunately, he passed away last year, and I was honored to speak at his going away ceremony. But yeah, just educators make lasting differences and impact. And when I say a difference, you can have a negative difference, make a negative difference. And my hope is make a positive difference in the lives of folks who are trying to help students have a better life through high quality public education. So yeah, hard worker, consistent. My wife says I'm a rule follower. I am. I believe in that. And yeah, those are just a few things.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I hope somebody says he's a fairly nice guy.
Well, he was a nice guy to give me a few minutes here. It's a busy schedule, so I appreciate that. And when that day comes, Earl, certainly the leadership that you've had in Alabama and now here at the national level is pretty well done. So good job.
Yeah, the people who are watching this, listening now, they're sure they're having this confusion of the dialect here. You've got my Southern accent with Andrew. Geez, it's just like these two people are talking at the same time. Anyway,
Are they speaking the same
yes,
language?
yes.
I remember meeting you in Maine, and I heard you speak the first time. I'm like, where are you from?
Where's he from? And we're all from somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, from somewhere. So we know you're not from around here. It's like, where are you from? Yeah,
here in New York. How you doing?
yeah.
Earl, I got my props here. I love using
Yeah.
them, and this is one of my favorites. It's hard to fly with. They keep pulling me, security. But if I gave you this and I said, Earl, you're the national director here, the executive director. You got 3 wishes for education. What are you wishing for? What are you going to give a rub here? And what are some things that you would love to see in education?
Well, I know education, we talk about funding a lot in education, and I know money's not everything, but certainly having adequate funding. And what that means, it's different in every state, different in every district. You know, it's like a student's IEP, individualized. So what does adequate funding look like? Again, it depends on where you are, but my hope would be, one, adequate funding, because I never want funding to be an issue related to someone's education, because I do believe, like Horseman, public education, one of the greatest, maybe the greatest discovery made by man. So adequate funding, and then hopefully that leads to every student, child having access to high quality teaching and education. And the whole funding piece comes into play in regards to facilities, adequate facilities to learn in, for students to have food if needed. I mean, you know, in public education, we feed the hungry, we clothe people that need it. So adequate funding certainly, and then every child having access. When I say a child, it can be a student, whatever grade level you're on, having access to high quality teaching and this total education experience, which is, I mean, it's the arts, it's athletics, it's the total education experience. But certainly those are the 2 things that would be my hope, if I can wave a magic wand and say, this is what I hope every child could have.
Well, you're certainly doing that in your role, advocating and speaking to the right people. We can complain in a faculty meeting or say, hey, we need this, but you're doing the work at the national level. So thank you for that.
We're all doing it. It's not just me. I mean, I just try to make sure the voices of school leaders are being heard, that they have a voice at the table. And then I call on those who are in the field and say, can you speak to this? Because it's, you know, you've got to be a part of the conversation. And too often education, because it's such a minor amount of money in the federal budget. In many states, it's a state education, as you know, is a responsibility of the states. It's not something of the federal government. So, you know, we've got to work harder and be stronger advocates for education because it's important.
Yeah. Earl, again, we're here at Lake Placid, the New York Principals Conference, SAANYS Conference. Principal leadership, you lived that life for a long time as well. For our principals here, for our principals that are listening, what would you say to them? These are the most important things that you see, you hear, you see the best leaders doing. If those principals can focus on just a couple things that they should be doing each and every day to help serve their kids, what would you say those things are?
Well, this is going to sound like a really general statement. We always say, do what's best for kids. So a lot of people would say, well, what's best for kids? How do you know what's best for kids? But I think most principals, school leaders, assistant principals, people working at district level, they know when I say do what's best for kids. And sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do because you've got the political influences there. You're certainly dealing with the school board, dealing with communities and with parents. But do what's best for kids. But in doing that, you've got to work with the whole support group. That's your teachers, that's everyone at the school level. You got to work with your parents. That's critically important, working with parents and working with community. A lot of you just can't go into school and close the door and focus on just doing this. You got to work with the community. And then work with everybody who has a vested interest, and that would be the politician as well. I told the group in a session earlier today, I've never met a politician that didn't want what was best for students and education. Now, we may disagree on what is best and how to go about doing that, but they really care about a kid having access to a high quality public education. So work with all of those groups. You can't just sit in your office. You got to be out and about. You got to work with all the various, you can call them shareholders or stakeholders, or whatever you want to call them. Building relationships is important, and lead by example. You got to lead by example. Other than the whole character thing that I talked about, having integrity, it starts there. But you got to lead by example as a school leader. It's so important.
100%. They say the principal has a cold, the whole building gets sick.
And build relationships. You got to build relationships.
Absolutely. Earl, this was great. I know we got to get down to the keynote here in just a couple minutes. Before we let you go, anything else you wanted to share or add?
No, just I thank all of your listeners here for what they do, especially those that are working at the school building level, school leaders. If there could be some district level watching. Thank you for what you do. It's important. Keep up the good work. And, at NAESP, if we can ever assist in any way, don't hesitate to let us know. We're in the service business. We're trying to help folks get better. And so people, they said, what is NAESP? What's your mission? I said, well, I can give you the mission, but just if I can summarize this, our belief is that if we help school leaders improve, ultimately the students going to benefit from what we do. And in the end, that's what it's all about.
He's saying it at conferences. He's modeling it at conferences. And here he is on the podcast, Dr. Earl Franks. Earl, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Appreciate it. Safe travels. Where's next? Where are you headed next? You in Jersey, Lake Placid?
I'll be in Plymouth, Massachusetts on Friday for the weekend for our Northeast leaders meeting from all of our state affiliates in the Northeast.
Nice.
From NAESP and NASSP.
Okay.
The presidents of those state associations will gather in Plymouth Friday through Sunday for a region meeting.
Beautiful. Now there's some accents. There's some accents. So tell our friends up there in New England, so tell them go Yankees, So we're going to sign off here on the podcast. Again, you can find the information about NAESP. Just Google them. That big conference again this summer, combined with NASSP in Seattle. So Earl, thanks for your leadership and thanks for a few minutes.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. We're going to sign off here on the podcast. Keep surviving and thriving, friends. Get to your state conference. Here we are in New York. They're great. It's great to be with people and looking forward to a great keynote and learning myself on my journey. So we are going to sign off. Let me get this thing out of the way here, Earl. And we are going to get this rolling. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Jay, great to see you. I'm going to give him a copy of Hats, our book together. So keep rolling, friends. Keep surviving and thriving.